Entonces, tenemos la palabra, como dice David, la palabra procedimientos, procedures, procedimientos, procedimientos. Entonces, yo tengo estos, do you remember the word devices? Aparatos, ¿sí? Estos son aparatos, ¿correcto? Entonces, tenemos la palabra computadora y Sara, recuerda que la palabra puede ser computadora o la computadora o el computador o el ordenador. ¿Tú estás familiarizada con la palabra ordenador? ¿La has escuchado?
Yeah, it's the same in French. L'ordinateur is in French, so.
Es un asunto de Europa. These European people. Sí. Muy bien. Entonces, y esto es un proyector. Entonces, el procedimiento es que yo necesito primero encender. Necesito encender. Necesito encender la computadora, ¿sí? Y una vez que encender, y una vez que pasado participio, we need this pasado participio. What was the formula for AR? Ado. Y para entonces tenemos ado y después tenemos para o para ir, ido, ¿correcto? Esto es muy importante porque estos pasados participios son populares también como adjetivos. These past participles are very popular also as adjectives in Spanish. For example, here I'm talking about bloquear. And what was bloquear? To block. Now, in this case, I want to say, oh, you know what? The street was blocked. If you think about it, you're describing how was the street? Oh, the street was blocked. That's what it is. You see, that's brilliant. So you said, oh, Jorge, ¿qué pasa? La calle estaba, and now, yeah, we'll get into past tenses here. Was, la calle, and this is one of we started with the past, the present perfect tense, right? And then there's two other past tenses that you will have to learn in the near future. One is what we call preterite, and actually the two are in Spanish, both are preterite, which the word in English doesn't exist. Like you don't use that word in English. But in order to have a point of reference, we use the word pretérito as preterite. Okay, in Spanish we have two types of preterite. We have pretérito indefinido and pretérito imperfecto. But then when you learn past tenses, you just learn them as preterite and imperfect. Those are the two terms that you use when you're learning them. Isn't that right? Sí. Correcto. So you, because you've been exposed to that, David. Sí. Preterite and imperfect. So just to give you a quick little tip, when you're talking about preterite, is an activity that was completed, and then you could attach a time frame. When you say, for example, oh yeah, Yeah, this morning I woke up and then there was sunshine and then it started to rain. So all that is rhetoric. Why? Because you're giving a point of reference. You're saying, oh, this morning I woke up and I can tell you the time I woke up. Very specific. And then when you say, oh, it started to rain, very specific, and I can tell you the time, right? But then there's another one, and is the one that I'm using here, which is called the imperfect. So this is and this is a monster. Like to know when to use the difference, when to use imperfect versus preterist. So that's why it takes you easily like 4 classes to get into like solid knowledge of both preterist.
Used to do something? Is that
one? That's part of imperfect, Debbie. But in this case, the situation is whenever you're describing things or people or elements in the past, all the description is with imperfect. The other category that you're mentioning is a brilliant one. Yes, you use whenever you want to say something that used to happen is where you use the so-called imperfect. But also any descriptions in the past say there was an accident and then there's a police officer there and okay, so could you please tell me what happened? Oh yeah, there was this situation with this car and could you describe the suspect? Oh yeah, this person had like a, you know, like a black jersey with a JP, like a red JP. He was wearing glasses. All that description would be with the so-called imperfect. All that would be in imperfect. For example, oh sí, este hombre usaba un jersey que tenía la palabra JP en rojo. Y este hombre, él usaba anteojos. Y él era muy feo. And he was so ugly. You see my point? What you were doing, what you're saying in terms of when to use imperfect, one of the categories is something that you used to do in the past. Oh, I used to eat this. I used to work in that company. Now I work here. I used to work there. But the other big one is descriptions in the past. Always use the so-called imperfect. But anyways, so la calle estaba, and in this case, we are using verb to be. When you're using verb to be, and then you're using a past tense, for example, when you're saying the street was blocked, that blocked would be using the so-called past participle. So in this case, bloqueado, bloqueada. And I'm going to use it again. Check it out. What if I gave you the word encender, to turn on? Okay. So primero yo enciendo is a stem changing verb. Encender is a stem changing verb. So boom, and I'll do this. Yo enciendo. So it's a stem changing verb there. Yo enciendo la computadora y una vez que la computadora, once the computer is turned on, as you can see, I'm describing that again. So in this case, that would be using an adjective, but using a past participle. But what kind of verb is encender? Correcto. So how we say turned on as past participle? That's right. Una vez que, and here this is essential. Una vez que, what if I'm using the feminine? Una vez que la computadora está, check it out. Once the computer is, oops, no. Está. There you go. Una vez que la computadora está. In that case, encendida, I would not use the stem change. I would go back to the root of the verb. Yes, so that would be a big one for your past participle. For a past participle, you use the infinitive, you take out the ending, and then you apply the ado or ido.
And you don't stem change.
You don't stem change. Let's do it. For example, give me a stem changing verb that you're familiar with.
Right now, oh.
Dormir. Okay. Dormir. And then querer. Those are two stem changing verbs, right? For example, dormir, pardon me there. Dormir. What if I wanted to say I sleep? Let's make it stem change. But let's go with I sleep. Correcto, yo duermo. Perfecto. I sleep, yo duermo. But now we want to make sure that we understand that a stem changing verb, when you make it past participle, you don't stem change it. You take it back. Therefore, what if you want to say, go away, I must sleep. So you would say, yo estoy dormido. But what if that was Elizabeth? Jorge is not snoring. Elizabeth is snoring. And then Sarah will go, shh. Is a girl. And you know why? Because in this case, as soon as you use verb to be, then this past participle would have the quality of describing something. She's not awakened. She's asleep. So that's why you would say, Jorge está dormido. Elizabeth está dormida. How about if we were all snoring? But in this case, I hope it's temporary. I hope it's temporary, David. So, estamos dormidos. Estamos dormidos. Excelente. Now, then you gave me, David, you gave me the verb querer. Okay. Querer is to want or to love. Okay. Now let's use it as to love. Okay. In this turn, Sarah will say, oh, I'm so loved by my family. Even my dog loves me. Okay. So in that case, yo estoy, what would you say? Exacto. Yo estoy querida. And it's exactly the same. And now things are going to start making sense. It's like, no wonder you guys use querido David, querida Sarah, which is dear. So if you think about it, is connected to caring, loving. So that's why we use the concept of querido, querida, queridos, queridas. It would have gender because of this reason, because it's a description. Yo estoy, or David, you would say, yo estoy querido por mi familia, meaning that your family loves you. Yo estoy querido por mi familia. Elizabeth, you have a question.
Just unclear. If say yo estoy dormida.
Sí, sí.
What is that in English?
I'm asleep. So it's like in terms of you're sleeping now. Yo estoy.
I slept.
Ex-
I
ex-
slept.
But in the case you're in this state of being in English, what would be the
I am asleep. I am asleep.
exacto? Yo estoy dormida. Sí, and a very.
I slept though. Like, what did you last night while I slept?
And in this case, a very common saying is this: "Oh, Dios mío, ¿qué hora es? Oh, Dios mío, quedé, me quedé dormido, Dios mío, estoy en problemas. Yo necesito estar en el trabajo ahora. I'm supposed to be at work. I slept in." And the expression is quedarse, quedarse, which is reflexive. That's right. That's why you're saying, yo me quedé dormido, me quedé dormida. And that's the thing that some of us, some point will experience. Oh my God, I slept in.
But could you just take the verb dormir and just make that into the past without?
Absolutely, absolutely. You could.
So I would just like, would you use the same thing as you did like with Esteban? I would.
No, in that case, you get into looking at preterite. So I slept, yo dormí, dormí.
Oh,
Yo, exactly, yo dormí mucho ayer.
Yeah.
I slept a lot yesterday. But that's why
It's
I'm
not
saying.
different when you put in for present. All the other ones follow where it's almost like the opposite of present. Whereas the yo is now with the I, and then the he is
Yeah.
now with the O with the accent.
And when I'm saying that getting into the other two past tenses, it requires like a lengthy process.
Yeah, no,
because number one, preterite, it has too many irregular verbs in preterite.
And then the ones that aren't, that are irregular in present aren't irregular, like dormir.
And dormir is a
Yeah.
is a pain in the neck. Why? Because in preterite, like if you go to if it's in Spanish, they might call it pretérito indefinido. Okay, so for preterite, Debbie, go to dormir.
Okay.
Now, dormir, which is a stem changing verb, because you say yo duermo in simple present tense. Yo duermo, tú duermes, usted, ella duerme. But then we say nosotros dormimos. Remember that for stem changing verbs, nosotros and vosotros, no stem change. Correcto? Yeah. So that's the business with simple present tense. But then check the so-called preterite, or they might have it as a pretérito indefinido. You have yo dormí, tú dormiste, but now usted, ella, él durmió. Is that where did that you come from? And is when you learn preterite, you learn that this big rule, and actually you guys are grown up people, so boom. No, so this is what I'll do. Like just to tissue here. Okay, so let's think about pretérito for 1 second. Pretérito. So this is an action that was completed, right? So and let's take an AR verb. Give me an AR verb.
And
Pardon?
and done.
That's an irregular one. So okay, so bailar o cantar, etc. O nadar, etc. Okay, so for pretérito, these are your endings. Okay, so yo bailé. That's your first ending. I danced. And then I'm not touching that keyboard. I'm not touching that keyboard. So go away. Boom, boom, boom. Then tú bailaste. Tú bailaste. And then the three amigos. Usted or ella or él. And they all share the same one, so I'm going to put it right in the center. And she's having a great time there. Haunted computadora. Oh, here is a good one. La computadora embrujada.
Oh,
Embrujada. What would that be? Possessed. From bruja. Embrujada is haunted. La mansión embrujada, the haunted house. Okay. Entonces, usted, ella, él bailó. Usted, ella, él bailó. That's the wrong one. That's the good one, but it went somewhere. Pretérito. Oh, I love it. Muy bien. Usted, ella, él bailó. And then here, nosotros or nosotras is interesting because it's exactly the same as simple present tense, which is bailamos. Okay, perfecto.
and so is the only way that you would know the tense when it comes to nosotros and vosotros is by the rest of the sentence?
Correcto. Y essentially, con expresiones de tiempo, with time expressions. Because then you say, nosotros bailamos muy bien. We dance very well. So we are good dancers.
Yo voy a decir, la semana pasada nosotros bailamos.
That makes the difference. But it's exactly the same conjugation.
Okay.
Muy bien. And then, vosotros, vosotras, bailasteis. Vosotros, vosotras, bailasteis. And then, ustedes bailaron. Ustedes bailaron. And one more. Which is not too bad because this is part of the two amigos. Correcto. Bailaron. Okay. Now, this is an AR verb. ER, IR would have the same endings. So what you have to do in preterite, you have to learn two sets of endings. One for AR and the other one for ER and IR. Exactly the same ending. Okay, so let's pick an ER or IR. Hopefully a regular verb. Comer. Comer. Okay. I ate. Gracias. Yo comí. Tú. Excelente, excelente. Tú comiste. And the three amigos here, usted, ella, comió, comió. I don't know, it's haunted. Comió. Usted, ella, él comió. And then nosotros o nosotras comimos. And vosotros, vosotras comisteis. And then ustedes comieron. And ellos, ellas comieron. Okay, now, this is the thing. Here you have past tenses, right? And we were wondering about this thing with the so-called past participle, where we discovered that past participle won't undergo the stem changing for stem changing verbs, right? We're fine with that. Okay, so dormir, if I wanted to say like slept, it would be dormido. I'm not going to go with duermido, right? Same thing with querer. Querido, querida, queridos, queridas. Then, for example, what if I have verb jugar? Jugar. So what if I want to say, oh yeah, the game was played already. Yeah, and here you have another, if you think about it, the verb is terminar. That's why now you're saying, oh, el juego o el partido está terminado. Now it's like, now it makes sense. Okay, so in this case, played, if I use the same verb, jugado. El partido está jugado. Okay, and so no stem change there. And what I'm saying here with this rhetoric, could we in one shot just to make it part of our system? Okay, could you please read out loud the whole conjugation of bailar? Count to three, you are on. Uno, dos, tres, go. Yo bailé. Tú bailaste. Usted bailó. Ella bailó. Él bailó. Nosotros, nosotras bailamos. Vosotros, vosotras bailasteis. Ustedes bailaron. Ellos, ellas bailaron. Perfecto. Okay, now could you do the same thing and fill in the blank there where I didn't put the pronouns there? Comer. So it would be same ER or IR verbs. I ate, count to three, uno, dos, tres. Yo comí. Usted comió. Ella comió. Él comió. Nosotros, nosotras comimos. Vosotros, vosotras comisteis, ustedes, ellos comieron. Now, when you're looking at your verb book, Debbie, with verbs like dormir, this is the rule. For stem changing verbs ending in AR, in preterite, no stem change required. AR. Therefore, what if my verb was pensar? It's a stem change verb, right? Because when you say I think, you say correcto, stem change. But now, what if I want to say I thought? As I said, AR, no stem change. You just apply the stem with the corresponding ending in preterite. Pensé. But in this case, Elizabeth, we're not going with a past participle. We're going with these endings. So yo pensé, ¿correcto? Yo pensé. Now, yo pensé. The situation with dormir. The rule says for IR verbs, for stem changing verbs, guess what? There's a second stem change. Of course. Seriously? Are you kidding me? Seriously? So, this is the way dormir would look like. So, dormir, we said, oh, it's a stem changing verb. Yeah, I know that. I've been doing that for a long time. So, this is the same change right there. And then I put it here. So I put it there. So then when you say I sleep, how do you say that? Yo duermo. But look at that. Look what I'm going to do. A second stem change. But this is only applicable to IR verbs. I'll say it again. IR verbs would, for stem changing verbs, would carry a second stem change for preterite and for gerund, the ing.
So if it's a stem changing that changes to UE, so like encontrar.
But that's an AR verb. She used French, David. So the rule is only applicable to IR.
But it is the stem changing things to UE.
Exactly, exactly. But this is fascinating because now I gave you another piece of information. For the two stem changing for IR verbs, the second stem change is also applicable to the ING situation or the so-called gerund. When you're saying, oh, don't bug me, I am sleeping. So how would you say sleeping? Now it's like, oh, that's why I'm saying durmiendo. Yo estoy durmiendo. Okay, but once again, as you can see, it's too many little things for preterite. Yeah. But going back to this is more regular. Yeah. Because for stem changing verbs, don't stem change them. You just apply the ending for ado or ido. Okay, I'll give you another popular one. Let's go with ER or IR. Who knows what this verb is? To lose. How will you say? I'm lost. It's like, now I get it. Estoy perdido. I'll give you another one which is popular. I'm tired. Or what would you say? That. Because it's a description. It's a description, so that's why you would say, yo estoy cansado. But your wife would say, oh, David, yo estoy cansada. Correcto? And now I hope this is kind of making sense in terms of all these words, which are past participle, they have the function of acting as adjectives. And adjectives, we know that they have to agree in gender and number with a noun. Correcto? So I thought this was kind of important since we've been practicing that. Okay. Now, la calle estaba. Let's finish the sentence here. La calle estaba blo bloqueada. Because the verb is bloquear. Bloquear. So you take out the AR. So your stem would be bloque. And then ada in this case because is the street. We use that personally too. Like, oh, you got me here. I'm blocked. So you would say, estoy bloqueado, estoy bloqueada. It's like, I can't think. Okay, muy bien. Estoy. And once again, once you start reading, like anything, you'll see this ado, ido, ada, ados, idos, and we'll have a little experience if we have the time with something.
When you read it in the story.
Yeah.
How do you read it? Because it could be male or female.
You have to follow the story because in the story there's going to be different elements that will become the subject and that will change. So I'll start. Había una vez. This is equivalent to once upon a time there was. Había una vez. Había una vez una princesa que se, and in this case, description, Debbie, llamaba. I'm using the imperfect because I'm describing whose name was, because I'm using the expression me llamo. Me llamo as a reflexive, and then we're talking about her name was, que se llamaba Juanita. Se llamaba Juanita. Now, su casa estaba, how about this? Her house was painted. But you need to twinkle that. You see why she corrected you and she went like, David!
I did no such thing. I was so impressed with what
Muy bien. Su casa estaba pintada rosa, de color rosa. Y estaba, and now we want to say, and it was, think about it, it was located. And to locate is localizar with the Z. Localizar is to locate. So how we say, it was located. And we're talking about, we're still talking about the house. And once again, I'll put the verb right here. The verb is localizar, is to locate. Correcto. Y estaba localizada. Estaba localizada en un, I love it, en un bosque. Oh, look at you, you're a poet. En un bosque oscuro. Y el camino estaba, and now the road was blocked. Come on, like we have to put this story together. Y el camino estaba bloqueado. 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 Y ella estaba choquear. It's not chocar, but choquear. Estar. From this verb comes the word to be in shock. She was in shock. Y ella estaba choqueada. Ella estaba choqueada. ¡Ah! El camino está bloqueado. Yo estoy choqueada. Pero ella también, and here we'll finish this. Pero ella también estaba, and now from the word, and I'll use the verb, enamorar. You see, David, you've been there. Estaba enamorada. Ella estaba enamorada. That means she was in love. Oh, yeah. Ella estaba. Pero. Bloqueado el camino y ella estaba choqueada. Choqueada. Gracias, Pam. Ella estaba choqueada. Punto. We'll go with the punto, otherwise will be a bad running sentence there. Pero ella también estaba enamorada. And this is answering your question, David.
Yeah.
So you see that in this case, the way I'm going with feminine and masculine is because in the story there are different elements that are taking the position of being the subject. At the beginning here, the subject is la princesa. And then we switch to casa, so it's feminine. So that's why we said pintada. And then casa is still localizada. And then when you continue the story, David, you added un bosque oscuro. And then I added y el camino. So now this is the important word because now this is the subject. And so that's why we say bloqueado, because now it's not talking about la casa. It's not talking about the princess. It's talking about the road. Correcto. Muy bien. Perfecto. So what I like to do now, following what we were doing with direct and indirect object pronouns, there's something that is interesting, which I mentioned last class, that one of the things that you do with object pronouns, you attach them to verbs. Okay, and we're going to do a little experiment attaching object pronouns to commands. Okay, and we're going to learn something that for some of you might be familiar, or for others might be correcto. Gracias. So I will be thinking of you. Beautiful. Thank you. Now let's go with the commands here. It takes a while. It takes a while to get used to the idea of attaching what we were practicing last class, which is those object pronouns, attaching them to verbs. So let me see if this is the proper disco duro. Oh, speaking of devices here, disco duro externo, disco duro, okay? And I'll write it down as part of the procedures and the vocabulary. So remember that we learn how to say computer. How do we say computer? Or, and how do we say projector? How do we say cables? Cables. And how do we say mouse? El ratón. Okay. And I'm going to include this one here, which is disco duro externo. ¿Sí? Disco duro externo. Entonces, espero que en este disco duro esté el archivo que yo necesito para los mandatos. ¿Sí? Es esta. Los mandatos. We have a Latin festival. No, this is not the festival. St. Albert. Further education. And aquí estamos. ¿Okay? Vamos a ver. Vamos, abracadabra, yo necesito este archivo.
Aquí estamos. Aquí estás.
Porque yo estoy incorporándolos a ustedes. I'm including you all. Sí, aquí estamos. ¿Sí? Aquí estamos en los mandatos. ¿Sí? Los mandatos. Hay dos tipos de mandatos. There are two types of commands. ¿Vale? El más fácil es este. This is the easiest, which is the informal commands. Right? Okay, let's practice it. So it says, los mandatos familiares son usados. And here there's another past participle. The verb is usar. Right? Usar is to use. So what if I want to say are used? And I'm talking about los mandatos. And now I'm describing. Los mandatos son. And now say used. Gracias. Los mandatos son usados. Los mandatos son usados con personas para poder direccionar a tú. Los mandatos afirmativos de tú tienen la misma forma de él, ella o usted en la forma del presente indicativo. So this is the very good news. When you're using the third person singular of any verbs, you're using the informal command. Por ejemplo, viajar. Right? No, but in this case, we're giving the command. We're saying, hey, travel. Travel now. So, viajar, third person singular, viajo, viajas, viaja. Viaja. ¿Correcto? Viaja. And then, empezar. Yo empiezo, tú empiezas, usted, ella, él. Empieza, that is the command. Pedir is a stem changing verb to ask for. So, yo pido, tú pides, usted, ella, él, pide. Okay, and now here we're going to take our little, remember this little handout? Do you have a copy of this, Debbie? Is all the pronouns that we've been practicing. This one here? If you don't have a copy, this is your copy, because I have another one. And I'll give you another one as well. Yeah. The week before. But
This is all in the stack of the stuff my wife
There you
is
go.
cleaning up.
okay. And you found it? And this is the one. Okay, now this is what we're talking about in terms of for commands. When you're giving an order, when you're giving a command, then in Spanish this is sophisticated, because then if you are involving a direct object or an indirect object or both, you would attach them to the verb, and that is hard to do it. Okay, but let's go with viajar. Let's go with pedir. Pedir is to ask for. Now you're giving the order, hey, ask for, right? Which you say, and now you're talking Debbie. So in this case, when you're telling someone, ask me for. There you go, pídeme, ask me for. Okay, are we fine with that?
Yeah.
Pídeme. But in this case, we're going to go a little bit back and forth in this case, because in your textbook, we went through indirect object pronouns. So now what we are going to tackle is the so-called indirect object pronouns, okay, which I think is unit 10. ¿Sí? Página 153, ¿correcto? So in this case, what we're doing is the fourth column of our charts, right? The fourth column of our chart. That's what we are using when you're saying to me, to you, or for me, or for you. That is now we are not talking about the object, the object that you bought, right? We are not talking about the object that you sold, the something, right? We are talking about who you bought the object for or to. Are we synchronized there? So that's what we call indirect object, and in this case we're going to use the indirect object pronouns. Okay, now with that fourth column, what if I want to, you already said asked me for, which is pídeme. And here, this would be very risky to say. At your own risk, you're going to tell a person, at your own risk. I'm saying this over and over again. At your own risk, you'll say, pídeme lo que quieras. Ooh, that's so dangerous. What are you saying there?
What would you, tell me what you want.
Pídeme lo que quieres. Ask me whatever you want.
No, tell me what you.
And then so they say, let me think about it. Pídeme. And one thing here, pide is the verb, right? Which is ask for. Now, where is the emphasis? In pide. The emphasis, where would you put the emphasis? Pide. So that would be the second last syllable. You're not putting the emphasis on the last syllable. You don't say pide, but you're saying pide, right? But now, what is the rule? The rule is if the word ends in a vowel, N or S, you don't emphasize the last syllable. You emphasize the second last syllable, which is right there, pide. But now, look what you're doing. You are adding one more syllable. So then what if you apply the rule? You would say, oh, this new word here ends in a vowel. So I'm going to emphasize the middle syllable here. No. You will still emphasize this syllable. And as a reminder, guess what?
Un acento?
Correcto, David. Un acento. So in that case, the accent will be the original emphasis that we had when we say pide. But then that would be a reminder because we added an extra syllable. You always do that. When you are adding now this new, the object pronouns now to the verb, you will have to put an accent, a written accent, un acento. Okay, pídeme. Now, what if I wanted to say, oh, ask her for, ask her for. You were you were right on the money there, David. You said pídele. Why le? Is because we're using the fourth column, which is the indirect. This is the person who is receiving the action. Okay, pídeme. And if you think about that, pídele, ask us for. Correcto, Elizabeth. But in this case, you're talking to a person, Debbie. You're giving a command to that person, but you're asking that person to ask her. Ask her for.
I got it.
Yes, pídele. Because if you think about it, if you're talking to a second person, you're not going to say to that person, hey, ask yourself for. Okay, but you would go with ask her for. Ask him for. Now, what would be ask him for? Correcto. But now, how would you differentiate? You are fantastic. Okay, so
Where would you put that at L or at?
yeah. So it would be part of the conversation here, my dear,
So
because
you have to say it because it would be
oops,
you
no.
be pointing to me, right? You'd be like, pide lo que quieres.
So in this case, so let's have a conversation here. Pídele, anything. Pídele la dirección. Pídele la dirección. What are you asking for? Or the address.
If for some reason, whenever you try to do it, it's trying to add an equation. It makes no sense.
This is driving me nuts. La dirección. Pídele la dirección. What if I say out of the blue, hey, Sarah, pídele la dirección? And then you look at me and you'll go,
Aquí.
almost,
No, I can't.
almost. Excelente. I used the wrong one here again. That was brilliant, Sarah. Again? Again? So what she's asking,
Yeah, I think that what gets lost when we're learning this is the fact that these sentences don't exist by themselves like on the page like they do here,
absolutely,
right? It's
absolutely,
like a conversation.
absolutely,
Right? Like,
absolutely.
you're not going to just like do that direction that thing, right? Because I'm gonna be like, yeah, who?
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
You will be talking and be like,
Okay. Pídele la dirección.
yo
¿A quién?
veo esta mujer.
Correcto.
Pídele la dirección.
Exacto. Ahí tú no necesitas.
Yeah.
Ahí tú no necesitas a quién. Porque tú usas otros elementos.
Yeah.
Tú dices, Elizabeth, pídele la dirección. Pídele la dirección. So in this case, I'm pointing. Exacto. Muy bien. Pídele la dirección. Pídenos.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's
Pídenos.
where at least my confusion lies is sometimes when we're writing it out on the page, I forget that this isn't existing by itself.
Correcto. Pídeles. Correcto. Now, we are asking them. So how would you ask that? Hey, ask them for the address.
Pídele.
Correcto. Pídeles, pídeles. You see how like all of a sudden, interesting. This stuff with the so-called commands and adding. And this is just the beginning because I'm adding one object pronoun only, but I could ask for both. And Elizabeth is saying, don't do it, Jorge. Don't do it. Now,
Well, pídele la dirección is like, I'm asking my wife to ask for directions.
but you're asking your wife to ask someone specific because you're saying, ask the direction to her. That's why you're telling your wife, hey, esposa, pídele la dirección. And your wife could easily ask you this. She'll look at you, but she'll look at you and she'll ask you this. Again, who should I ask the address to?
She'll say something in French.
and then of course, pídele la dirección right after that, and this is following your train of thoughts here. Pídele la dirección. So let's have that conversation. Hey Sarah, pídele la conversión, la dirección. A Elizabeth. And that's why you must use the personal a, because it's part of the object. When the object is a person, always use a. Okay? Pídele la dirección a Elizabeth. Okay? Now, let's move on with that because we are in the so-called familiar commands. And we just learned that the familiar command is not too bad because you use the third person singular of the conjugated form of the verb. Okay? Let's go with verb to call. How would you say call? Informal. Llamar is the verb. So we know that the informal command would use correcto. That's why you say llámame. Llámame, llámame. What if you wanted the person to call us? Correcto, Elizabeth. Llámanos, llámanos. Llámanos, por favor. How about in your traveling experiences? What if you're telling a person, oh, next time you are in St. Albert, pay me a visit. So how would you tell a person visit, literally, visit me? But go back to familiar command. The verb is visitar, but then you have to conjugate it as third person singular.
Or do we visit me or visit us?
Me. There you go. There you go. But now, Elizabeth, think about this. But here there's something that we'll all work on correcting. The verb is visitar. Perfecto. It ends in a consonant, so that's why you emphasize the last syllable when it's non-conjugated. You realize that, right? When you say visitar. But then when you start conjugating the verb, you have to change the emphasis. From the last syllable, you go to the second last, because now you're adding a vowel, or N or S. Therefore, from visitar, when you say I visit, you say yo visito, yo visito, tú visitas, and now is what we need. Visita. So, and that's why you say exactly like that. Visítame. 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 And Dave, pay us a visit. So visit us. But us this time. Correcto, visítanos. Visítanos. La próxima vez en Saint Albert, visítanos, visítame. Are you following that?
Yeah.
And here is all these romantic telenovelas that Sarah is watching. So she's very, very, very very solid with when people say, what is that, Sarah? No, but that is, I love you. But now you're going with a command. You're telling the person, love me. You see, with that intensity, like she's been watching all this.
Oh, today I babysit a 6-month-old. We watched the new Dora.
Oh.
Still an asshole.
Visítame, ámame, ámanos, llámame. Are you following that for familiar? Okay, because now I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch. The so-called formal command right here, it says, formal commands are used to give orders or advice to people. You address as usted or ustedes, formal, right? Their forms are identical to the present subjunctive forms for usted and ustedes. Now, when they talk about subjunctive, is this. So I'll put it right here. So let's go with llamar, right? So, and actually, let me just insert 2 tables. And let's go with llamar. And let's go with llamar, comer. Okay. Now, yo llamo, ¿correcto? Tú llamas, de 3 amigos. Usted, ella, él, llama. Nosotros llamamos. Vosotros, vosotras, correcto, llamáis. Muy bien, llamáis. And then, the 2 amigos here. Ustedes, ellos. Perfecto. You're solid with that, right? Now, how about comer? Could you please do the same thing? Yo como. Tú. But it's an ER. Comes. Correcto? And this, at this stage, those ending differences are essential. So we just dealt with dominant vowel A. Llamas, llama, llamamos, llamáis, llama. Now dominant vowel E. Comes, Continue, please. Come. Continue, please. Comemos. And next. Coméis, because you have to be consistent. Same pattern. Correcto, correcto. Now, whenever they talk about, because for the formal command, they are talking about, oh, use the subjunctive. What is subjunctive? Okay, what you have to do for the subjunctive is almost thinking that you're going to swap here the order. So I'm going to put llamar here. I'm going to put comer here. Okay, in terms of endings, even the yo. So once again, I'm building the so-called subjunctive. Are you with me there? This is a brand new territory, okay?
So this is for orders, right?
But this is for formal orders. Formal orders, and also you need this for negative commands, like orders.
What's formal about?
Formal is when you're saying, for example, what if I ask you to call, hey, call me. Now, this is very sensitive because the Spanish language deals with formal and informal. The is when you're addressing a single person. When you're addressing a single person, is very sensitive because if your language is becoming really good, then if you're using the wrong mode, if you're using the informal where you should be using the formal, the person listening to you will think that you're doing it on purpose and you've been arrogant.
Yeah, if you're going to use formal with people you don't know, or people who are your boss or who are hiring you, or your elders.
Or any type of authority, even if the person is just giving you your luggage,
yeah,
he's in power. Because if you don't use the formal with them, it's like Americano. No, canadiense.
It happened to us here in Berlin in a food fair, and it was a Vietnamese guy saying like, hey you, you don't even want to order something. He's like, what do you mean you don't even know who I am, you weren't being very formal. And my cousin just blew up on this guy.
Exactly, because here in English we don't use it. It's you for formal info. It's only one you. When you say so you are in charge here, you are in charge here. Like for example, in your area, like in that case, man, that's so sensitive. You would not use with any person who's a little bit higher or even at your same rank. You would not use the informal. Forget it. Because that is breaking the code.
So if you're not sure, default to the formal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's something interesting there. Because I believe in French you also use this verb. Tutear. Tutear. We even made it a verb. Check it out. Tú. There. That is, you can trick me with tú. Like, oh, enough of that formality. Let's use the tú. Let's be informal. We use a verb. Tutear. And now, impress me. What would be the command? What is the informal command using tutear? But think about it, David. Tu te a, because it's an AR verb. It's an AR verb. Because you say, yo tuteo, tú tuteas, usted, ella, él, tutea, which is the third person singular. Therefore, what if you are telling a person, oh, come on, enough of that formality. You can treat me as tú. So you would say, tuteame, tuteame. Same as llámame, ¿verdad? Okay, tuteame. Now, just to give you a little insight of this, this is very, very sophisticated, but you need sophistication at this point because seriously, like you have a very good foundation of simple present tense and you know a lot of stuff. But at this point, and we are talking about something very sensitive. Commands is sensitive. When you're giving orders, if you're not using it properly, the other person might get the wrong idea. Something that you didn't mean to do, but they think you did it on purpose. Okay, so what they are saying in terms of the formal, they are saying use the subjunctive. How are you going to use the subjunctive? It's almost, you see what I did there? So from llamar endings, I'm going to swap the endings, meaning that in this case, I'm going to turn all these ones into a. So what if I wanted to use the subjunctive of comer? Correcto. That is the subjunctive of comer. What is the subjunctive of comer but tú? Comas. How about the three amigos? Usted, ella, él? Correcto, correcto. And how about nosotros? Correcto, muy bien, muy bien. What did I do there? Comamos. Let's go to Spain. Vosotros, vosotras. Comáis. Perfecto. One more. Ustedes, ellos. Perfecto, perfecto. Oh, excelente. Now, could we do the same thing with llamar? Now, remember what you're doing. You're building the subjunctive. And we'll see when to use the so-called subjunctive. Once again, it's a higher level of Spanish. So what if I wanted to use the so-called subjunctive for llamar? Number one, I have to turn this one also into a. So yo llame. But remember the emphasis, eh? The emphasis is on the second last syllable. Don't say llamé, because as soon as you say llamé, you're turning that into I called. You're turning that into preterite because you're putting an accent. Llamé. But in this case would be llame. Llame. Next. Correcto, Elizabeth. Llames. Llames. How about the three amigos? Usted, ella, él. Llame. Perfecto. Nosotros. Oh, you're on the roll now. Llamemos. Vosotros, vosotras. Llaméis. Ustedes, ellos. Llamen. Now, look at the explanation. Let's get used to this. Could you please, and in your head, you are conjugating verb comer in subjunctive. Could you please do it at the count of three? Uno, dos, tres. Yo coma. Tú comas. Usted, ella, él coma. Nosotros, nosotras comamos. Vosotros, vosotras comáis. Ustedes, ellos coman. Now, you're giving me the subjunctive of llamar. Here we go. Yo llame. Tú llames. Usted, ella, él, llame. Nosotros, nosotras, llamemos. Vosotros, vosotras, llaméis. Ustedes, ellos, llamen. Now, they are saying, for the formal command, Formal commands are used to give orders or advice to people you address as usted or ustedes. Their forms are identical to the present subjunctive forms for usted and ustedes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh. So the usted is part of the three amigos right there. Could we go back to the informal? What is the informal to tell a person to eat? Yo como, tú comes, usted, él, come. You're telling your kids, come. And that's familiar to your ear.
Yeah.
Now you have grandma, grandfather in front of you. You're not going to say come. Oh.
So would you do both? Would you say, niños, come, abuela, coma?
Correcto. You have to do it that way. So you have a little kid there. Come. You have abuelita. Coma. Coma. Now,
So subjunctive is formal.
subjunctive is formal, David. And now the plural, Sarah, if it doesn't matter if I say it's formal or informal, the plural has to be the you all, common. And now with your traveling experiences, that might be familiar, David, like common. Okay. Now, let's go with comprar. Typical when we're traveling, right? Comprar. Could you please give me the informal command? Buy. Outstanding. Compra is the informal. And then look what you're doing there. You're adding the so-called indirect object pronoun. Cómpralo. Buy it. Outstanding. That is brilliant. ¿Te gusta? Cómpralo. Do you like it? Buy it. But now, remember the I do little I, that would be indirect. I stands for indirect. Do, direct object. So that would be the order. What if you wanted to say to your wife, buy it for me? So then think about, for me would be the indirect. But don't translate it that way. Go with the two object pronouns. How do you say? But let's go first with the command. You know that this is the command. Perfect. Compra, which is the one that you used. Compra. And you said cómpralo. You're saying buy it. Now, that to me is when you say I do, I, indirect. So indirect goes before direct. So the direct was lo. And now you want to say, but don't go, go with me right here. Cómpramelo. And the more you use it, then your ear will get really used to that. Cómpramelo. There you are on the phone. Hey, David, aquí está un libro muy interesante. Cómpramelo, por favor. Cómpramelo, por favor. But now, hey, David is your boss. You're not going to say, cómpramelo. Impress me. You see? Cómpremelo. The melo would be established already. So it's to me, it. That's the kind of a switch that you have to do. Okay, let's go with another one. You have this. ER, IR for subjunctive would carry the AR endings. And then AR would carry ER endings. Are we fine with that? let's practice other verbs. So we are saying, and we are targeting this area here, these two areas, and I'm going to bold them. So the third person singular and the third person plural. Okay. So third person singular, third person plural. I'm doing it again. Let's try different verbs. Okay. What if I wanted to say, okay, visit it, and you are advising to visit a certain beach that you know, please, if you ever go to this place, visit this beach. So in this case, what is the direct object pronoun that you would use? But I'm just saying what I want to say, visit it. But it's beach. Lies is it. Now, go informal. Visit it. Visítala. Are we all fine with that? But we're talking about playa, blah, blah, la playa, playa del Carmen, playa, playa, and then visit it. Visítala. Right? Right. Now, same command, but use the formal. Correcto. Correcto. And now, so in this case, I should go like this. So this is I think this would make it a little bit more clear. So for AR, as you can say, I'll just go like this. Red. You see that in sometimes, you know what concept we use? We use the concept of opposite vowels. It's like, what is opposite vowel? So opposite vowels is this. When you have AR, you're going to go with the opposite. So in essence, right here. So for the opposite, think about this. So what if I have for AR verbs, opposite for what we learned, what is the opposite vowel? Just in terms of the main vowel, E, right? And then for ER or IR, what? Correcto. With that formula, then you are using the so-called the subjunctive, and you know that the subjunctive for commands. In this case, for what kind of commands? For formal commands, and also for plural. For plural. Okay. For example, let's go again with visitar. Okay. Make it visitar. Informal. Visit me. You said it, Debbie. That is excellent. Visítame. Excellent. Visítame is an visitar is an AR. So I want to go formal. Correcto. Visíteme. Now you know that you can use the plural. You guys visit me. Correcto. Visítenme. Visítenme. Like David. How does it feel? Like Elizabeth turns her head, is like, oh my God, David. And now Debbie's turning her head. Is like, how does it feel? Tengo dolor de cabeza. Now, But you're doing so well in this case. So what we're doing? So we are analyzing, number one, the so-called commands. So we have two types, or let's go with three types of commands. One is singular, informal, singular form. For example, when you say visitar, informal is the third person singular, easy. Visitar yo, visito tú, visitas. Visita, boom. Then visita is a visitar is an AR. Oh, opposite vowel. Visita, visite, right? And then also for the plural, you use the so-called subjunctive. Visita, visite, visiten. Are we fine with that? Could we do the same thing with comprar? Okay, so could you please go? You have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so go with the informal. You want to tell a person buy. Compra. AR opposite. Compre. And keep the same opposite for plural. Compren. Compren. Are you with me, Sarah? Beautiful. Another one. What if I want to say, okay, I'll go so sophisticated.
You automatically default to formal then?
Correcto.
So if I was in my case where I'm getting people to come, I would say to niños, I would say, coman.
Correcto. Anyone. Niños coman, abuelitos coman. No difference. Beautiful observation. So for the singular, division.
Formal and formal.
Okay? Beautiful. Now, new word here. To save money. Ahorrar. Right there. Ahorrar is to save money. You're giving advice. You're telling a person, save money. How will you say that? Informal. Go with the 3. Informal. You're telling a person, save. Ahorra. Formal. Ahorre. Plural. Ahorren. Ahorren. Now, oh, you're giving advice again. It's time to sell your auctions. Okay, so informal, vende, formal, venda, venda, and plural, vendan. So by default is the subjunctive in this case. Okay, and now let's go here. Is that right? Yeah. So
After all, welcome to the rain. I watered my backyard this afternoon.
Oh, I thought it was because I watched the car.
So I just want to thank you all.
I had my sprinkler on this morning.
And I'm converting my backyard to clover. So it's like mud right now. And I have a new puppy who is white. Oh,
Not loud.
was white. Actually, I have a video of her. We have a break to show you. The video of her raving in her kennel.
Now, let's talk about her puppy. She has a beautiful male puppy, and you're dying to have that puppy. And you're telling Sarah, sell it to me. How will you say sell it? So let's try. Male or female? Female. Okay. Then, so let's go with familiar. Vende. Vende. And now I do to me, and then the it. Vende. So I do would be to me, the indirect, and then the direct The what do you want me to sell you? Okay, so vende, véndemela, véndemela. And now, véndemela, and remember my advice? I want to keep that emphasis there. So that's a reminder for my emphasis. So I want, véndemela, por favor. Okay, and then let's make it formal. Formal singular. Perfecto. So, and I'll put the accent there. Véndamela, por favor. Véndamela, por favor. And one more. Correcto. You guys sell it to me. So that would be véndanmela, por favor. Véndanmela, por favor. So I know it's like, oh, so much. But at this point, this is giving you that. So we started here. This is informal. This is formal because it's vender. So opposite from E, we go to A. And then we keep in the formal in order to make it plural. Plural. Perfecto. Perfecto. And now, what do you have there in your so for commands, now that you are familiar with the concept of subjunctive, okay, check it out. Tomar is to take and also to drink, right? Tomar is to take or to drink. So could you please go with the informal? You take or you drink. Toma. And you're trying this new beer, and then you're telling a person, hey, drink it. Until you're talking about cerveza. Tómala. No, tómala, está bien, tómala, right? And then here, formal commands, we go into the singular and then the plural. Abuelita, tómela. You're trying your abuelita to get drunk. Tómela. And then you're asking your kids to drink that beer. Oh, Sarah, tómenla. Okay? But then look at this here, the negative. The negative is going with the subjunctive, but usted. We already determined that the subjunctive usted is tome. Is there? No tome. Okay. So and this is just one more step here. So we learn how to give formal command, informal. We started with the informal commands. Okay. And for informal and formal commands, let's go with the stem changing verb because this is another question. Stem changing verb. Volver is to come back, to return, right? So volver is a UE stem change. How we say I return? Correcto, yo vuelvo. Are we all fine with that? Yo vuelvo. Now, could you please make it informal command? Come back. But volver is an ER. So you say, yo vuelvo, tú vuelves. Because it's an ER verb. It's like comer. Yo como, tú comes. And then, Uh,
Or is that, well,
vuelve, vuelve is the informal, right? Vuélveme, yeah, that would be correct.
Okay.
And now,
You were saying one best, like you, just a regular.
regular conjugation. Yo vuelvo, tú vuelves, and then usted y él vuelve, which is the informal command. We're fine with that. Now, with the volver, oh, it's an AR. So, pardon me, it's an ER verb. Opposite vowel, ah. So that's why you're telling a person formal, hey, you come back. Formal. Correcto. Vuelva. And the plural. Vuelvan. Okay. Now, you want to say, don't come back. but you're making it formal.
No,
But you still have the subjunctive, no vuelva. And that's very harsh. No vuelva. And I know. And here there's no room for the other person to say, you didn't use the proper command. Yes, I did. I did the formal, singular, and negative. And no vuelva. No vuelva. Don't say suegra, no vuelva. Suegra is mother-in-law. Okay, now I hope I didn't confuse you at this point. Yes, I did. That's okay. But in this case, you know what? For next class, okay. So do we want to have like a potluck kind of situation? Yeah, let's do it that way. And what we're going to do, we're going to use like commands and all that, but while we are kind of dining together, kind of, could you please pass me this? Or oh, try this. Oh, this is so good. There you're using commands. Oh yeah, no, thank you. Like whatever. Okay, but so I'll be sending the same kind of vocabulary for when you're ordering food, when you are saying what you like, because oh, that's a good one too, eh? Remember that when you're using verb to like, in essence, what you're saying something rather than I like something, the angle is different. You're saying something is pleasing to me. And it's exactly what we've been practicing with the so-called indirect object pronouns. When you say to me, you say me. So that's why you say me gusta. When you say,
Yes.
I'll send you that. And
This one I print off when you sent it, because I found this one very helpful.
Yeah.
To bone up on before I went to Mexico.
So
it goes, it's like easy language in the restaurant, and then you're going hardcore. Woo!
yeah.
So the funny thing is, I used that, and I thought, this is awesome, and then also my wife goes, tell me I want to have my goat cheese on the side. Why just don't get the cheese, you know? No, I want you to have it on the side.
I'll do that. So
well, you don't know anything then.
and yeah, so that would be the core of the class. So we'll be using all this, but like in a handy manner. So do you like this? Oh, I love this. Oh, I'm fascinated with that whatever you're bringing. Sounds good. So hopefully we are going to go outside, and there's going to be no heavy rain.
your name?